Hi and welcome to Scott's Inverts. If you're not subscribed, remember to hit that subscription button. Today we are looking at the Aspinochilus Rufus, ex-Phormingochilus Rufus, a Peach Earth Tiger, all the way from Indonesia. An absolutely stunningly beautiful spider. Probably when people take pictures of them, they've got to be the most edited I've ever seen online. But Aspinochilus, when they put it into a new genus, it really made me smile because Aspinochilus, it just sounds like a Harry Potter spell to me. Anyway, less of my waffling and let's go check out where this goes from, the setup and the rehousing. So our Peach Earth Tiger Aspinochilus Rufus comes from Java Island, which is an island just below Indonesia. Now when we think of that island, we think about moisture. So what we want to be doing with our spider is getting it up to around 80% humidity. When we think about the temperatures ranging from 22 to 28 degrees Celsius, we want to be keeping ours around 26 degrees Celsius. Now, up on screen now is my subadult female. She is old world, arboreal, but she will also burrow. Now the growth rate on these is fast, with females reaching adulthood around 3 to 4 years and males around 1 to 2. Females can live in excess of 12 years, males 2 to 3 years. Now we want this girl to be living arboreal, so an arboreal setup is going to be absolutely perfect for her. Just bear in mind, this old world species is very quick to throw up that defensive posture, as you see on screen now, and she is also a very, very fast spider. But she is absolutely stunning on the side of that as well as, and will absolutely throw out tons of webbing. So this old world arboreal slash burrowing species, not for beginners, but absolutely amazing spider. So a beautiful spider has got to go in a beautiful enclosure until she molts a couple more times. And this is a Tarantula Rooms Deluxe Terrarium. 15 centimeters across by 15 centimeters back by 25 centimeters tall. Now the great thing about this is you take the lid off and there is a built-in humidifier gauge as well as a temperature gauge. So you can always be on top of those things. And it's a magnetic style lid as well as. Now, thinking that we need to be keeping that humidity up and the ground substrate nice and damp, I'm going for peat moss, and the kind of consistency we want with that is we want to be able to grip it with our hands, see a tiny drip of water come out, but we want that substrate to also hold shape, and we're about there. And what we're going to do is go in and every half inch or so, just pat that substrate down. Don't make it too hard because remember the spider has also got to burrow through this. But that's exactly what we're going to do. It is important to note with substrates, especially like peat moss and other substrates, have a little hand sift through it beforehand because you will find some sticks. Now we're going 3/4 of the way up, so we've gone with about 4 to 5 inches of substrate, so she can make a bowl kind of burrow at the bottom of her boreal retreat. Now we found some cork bark. It's not a cork bark tube, but this is going to be just as good. All that room at the back of the enclosure, at the back of that cork bark, is where we're going to find our spider making her home. So I'm going to push this right into the substrate because it is a little bit taller than the actual enclosure, but that's not a problem. And again, thinking of that humidity, yeah, so you know what's coming. Moss. That's right. We're going to get some moss and we're going to put it on top of that substrate there. One, moss looks absolutely fantastic in enclosure, and you guys know I absolutely adore moss. And two, as I always say, 8 times its own weight it holds in water as well, and it slowly releases that into the actual enclosure. Again, keeping the humidity up in the substrate as well as releasing humidity into the enclosure air as well as. Now you can see that part at the back, that nice big gap. That is exactly where our spider will be, webbing all that area up and making a small burrow underneath that as well. I've kind of come up the cork bark a little bit with the moss there. I just thought it just looked really good. And that's the only reason I let that go up. What do you guys think? Let me know in those comments. And around the back there, I'm going to kind of not put any moss there because that's where I want her to do her little burrow or create a little burrow. And again, once she molts another once or twice, we shall be upgrading this enclosure. I mean, a male spider would be completely fine in here. They grow to around 4.5 to 5 inches in size. Females around 7 inches, so normally around 6, but they can get to 7. So we've got to bear that in mind, and I know full well that this girl is probably going to need an upgrade in the near future. Now, it is difficult to get moss down to the bottom of the boreal substrate enclosure, so I'm just using tongs to get that final piece down there and down in the side, especially if the enclosure's got a lip, because you can't get your hand straight down there. So I just use a pair of tongs to get any additional moss down there which we need. Now, last but not least is a water dish. Upturned milk bottle top is what I'm using here. I try and get it into the corner, and I almost do it, but I end up flipping it upside down. So I go in with my fingers and try and flip it the right way up. Now, what I do before putting the spider in is fill that water dish up. And now what I need to make sure is I can take the lid off, pour water into it safely, without disturbing the spider. So we're just going to flatten that down, make sure it's nice and flat, and then get some water into that as well. And there we go. Fill up that water dish. What we're going to do with that is overfill it every couple of days, say twice a week. We're just putting some more water in here now. This is mainly just purely for the moss. What we want to be doing is going in this enclosure, and to keep that humidity around 70 to 80%, make sure that we keep that substrate below the moss level nice and damp by applying water, and also keep that moss nice and green again by just giving that a good spray. So what I'm doing here is a little bit of a spray at the back and the front. And what actually happens with the little sprays that we've got, especially with me, is I end up misting the whole front of this enclosure. Now, what I do towards the end of this short section is go in with a microfiber cloth and clean that off. When the spider's in there, we can kind of do it if we put microfiber cloth on the top and use it with the tongs. But again, it gets really messy. We're going to disturb the spider. So when you go to mist it in future, just try and not to get any on the front glass. Unless you're not too fussed about not being able to see through it temporarily. So all I do here is get a microfiber cloth just to clean the front of the enclosure down so we can see back in it again. And off camera I'll do the sides. I can't really get to the back, so I'll just leave the back as it is. But you'll see that in just a second before we get our beautiful girl into this enclosure. And that is the finished enclosure, all ready for our spider to go in there and do her thing. Absolutely brilliant, absolutely spot on. Let me know down in those comments if you too keep a Rufus in your collection. And here we go. We're actually rehousing with a tarantula room rehousing tube, and she goes straight in. Beautiful.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast. I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious, mysterious.
Boom! Aspinochilus, Rufus, Peach Earth Tiger, nailed. What I didn't show off camera was this. Now this is the tarantula room rehousing tube, which I'm using every single time I rehouse any spider. Really great, because what you do is once they're in that tube, you get to observe your spider in that tube, check her for any mites or any kind of illnesses that you can observe, or if you've got any problems that you think with your spider, you can take pictures and send them off to somebody that you think might be able to help you. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Really do appreciate every single one of you. And again, hit that subscription button if you're not subscribed, and I shall see you again on the next one.